Hi, Alan. I'd just like to speak about our Zoom consultations. Now, it sounds unusual, but we're not like other companies. You can't just ring up and get a Zoom consultation with yourself. Could you ever explain to our viewers why this is?
Okay, it's nothing to do with ego. Okay, it's just to do with what it is parents kind of know they need to get something sorted. And obviously they kind of ring up and want to kind of consultation, get it sorted. But what we're always trying, and I will say to you, is always get parents to go and do a webinar or a workshop, because they have to gather so much information. There's an awful lot of information out there they need to gather and to think about before they ever come to speak to someone like myself. So we're talking about like how to choose guardians, trustees, what their roles, what's the difference between them, letters of wishes, hospital passport, all these types of things. And again, as I said, it's conversations that couples need to have before they ever even kind of come to us. So this is why I'm always saying to you, rather than just booking people in, getting a consultation with myself, it won't be as productive as it will be when they've done a lot of the kind of groundwork, understand it, and then we can get into a consultation about kind of planning, future planning, trust, and get into the nitty-gritty of stuff so we can kind of get it sorted for them.
Every time a parent would ring me and I would suggest to them to attend a workshop or attend a webinar, they think they have a lot of questions beforehand, but after the webinar, they actually have so many more questions to ask you and so many thoughts in their mind. So I think it's invaluable even to have a pen and paper when you were at that, because you would have your own personal questions as well.
Exactly. No, that's a good, and that's it. Isn't it all about information? And then now you're in a kind of frame of mind. And again, the other part as well, sometimes parents come to these webinar workshops and they might get the answer to the 3 or 4 questions they were actually looking for. And that's great. And they only need a consultation and they're sorted, you know, they've got what they really need. And as you said, others then come out with 10 or 15, and all of a sudden they think, right, you know, and they all might be right timing for them. I'm now want to get this sorted. Because the other thing, it is very hard to sit down to likes myself. It is tough to look into these things and face up to kind of the future and what's kind of coming down the road. So certainly, as we said, it is more beneficial. Parents come to these webinar workshops, get the information, and if you want a private consultation, obviously we can organize that afterwards.
And I can understand it is very hard for parents to think about this, especially when you're doing a day-to-day job, minding your child, maybe speech therapy, occupational therapy. You would put this on the back burner. But what I'm finding more and more as children are, it's a funny way to say it, but they're living a longer life, because I have siblings who ring me who are now 50 saying, what will I do with my brother? Where will he go? How can I help? My mom and dad never did this. I'm at loggerheads with it. And they're so frustrated. And so it's like as if what I'm trying to say really is this is going to happen.
Yeah.
We don't know when. It's like your child going from primary to secondary school. You have to put in that work. Nobody wants to do it, but you have a great option now to do this. And I find even at our webinars and workshops, we've got workbooks for parents to download or that we give out, that they can actually take it step by step as well. And it's just so important to start the process, I feel. And to do that, it's the webinar, the workshop, and then to meet yourself for a Zoom consultation. So say at the end of the first Zoom consultation, is it over, Alan, for parents if they've done then?
No, so generally the first kind of Zoom consultation will be about an hour to an hour and a half. And in that kind of Zoom consultation, we kind of go through everything. So we start actually, the structure I use is the workbook. I use the workbook as a structure for the meeting, because then we'll kind of go through the entitlement side of it. We talk about specialist bank accounts. I figure out what has the child got a bank account, if not, what's there, you know, speak to them about disability allowance, the importance of that coming down the road. And then we'll go into like all about the will, the guardians. And again, we get into deep conversations then there, because parents, it might be the first time they've ever spoken about guardians. You know, this kind of way. And again, I'm always trying to reassure parents, because sometimes we meet with parents and they might kind of go off and they'd be getting upset and they'd be going away, you know, 30 years down the road. And I said, no, we'll just sort the next couple of years, next 5 years, let's plan it, let's get this right. And again, it kind of relieves them to think, all right, I can do this. I can do the next 5 years. You know what I mean? I don't need to be thinking about 30 years down the road. And then we get into the funding, the trust. I ask a lot of questions. Well, interesting. I don't think parents realize about people's personal finances. I'm not being nosy. What I'm trying to do is see what other assets will be there for the trust. Have they got other life policies, pension, saving? Or the other thing I try to do as well, give them a lot of tips around personal loans. And among the parents with personal loans, car loans, obviously they have their mortgages. And again, trying to give them or plant seeds with them, so look, chip it away, try to get rid of it if you can, or if you get into a good situation, this will be more beneficial because the more money parents have at the end, the more they can pass on. So again, a part of the kind of consultation goes into those areas as well.
Yeah, and it is complex and there is a lot to take on, and so after that, do you give parents then, do you ask them to do a few things or tasks?
Yeah.
Or how does that work then?
So I'm a very kind of structured person. So what I end up doing is at the end of the consultation, I type up an email and we look through the email. Then we say, look, if there's two, say, entitlements that didn't need like a long-term illness card or household, but I get them. So obviously the forms, they have a link then to 6 folders, which have all the forms and applications you could ever need. They have the articles, they have podcasts, the YouTube videos, but they also then have booklets, the guardian booklets, and you're the trustee. And these are great booklets that they can pass on to their chosen guardian trustees. And actually what I do, I get them to read it first themselves so they get an understanding of what the roles and responsibilities and the trust and will booklet, so they understand it themselves. And then I type up this email, we go through and I send it to them then. And so what they're to do then, they're trying to get through these tasks to kind of progress everything for their child. So when I meet them the next time, then I go away, then I create a kind of personalized, tailored plan for them. And the second meeting, then I go through that with them. Hopefully they've got a couple of their tasks done. And then at that stage, then we're hoping that to be like the final part of it would probably be forwarding a letter of wishes to their solicitor or making an appointment to kind of get the will done with their solicitors, probably the last thing then they do after they meet me for the second time.
And they can contact you then before the solicitor meeting again or afterwards, maybe?
I'm always saying to parents then, once we kind of do the consultation, they're kind of part of our families at any point going forward, and they can always come back to me. And generally what you find is like that part is important. I'm always saying to parents, if you run into any issues now, but at that stage, you'd be surprised. Parents get very well, we say prepped for their meeting with the solicitor, because obviously I've spoken to them. We talked about the structure of the will, we talked about how it should work, talk about discretionary trusts and how all that kind of ties together. So when parents are going to their solicitor, they're very well informed themselves of what they want, so they know what their solicitor. And oftentimes they come back and say, look, the solicitor didn't really know too much at all, must kind of know a little bit more. And they say, would you have a recommendation? And I can say, oh yeah, sure, we have families who use solicitor Dublin or wherever, Limerick, wherever it is, and again pass on, we say solicitors who be more familiar with that whole area as well.
And Alan, should, like you're saying, their parents prepare for the meeting with their solicitor, should they have anything prepared for meeting with yourself?
Generally, just as I said, I just have a kind of list of kind of questions that you want to be asking. Just to kind of just have a think, well, what do I want? What information do I need to kind of get from Alan? What don't I understand? What's confusing? When I was at the webinar, is there any element of that got a bit confusing or popped up questions? And then just your as I said, your personal finance, just have a few documents next to you, again, of your assets, liability, stuff that you were thinking that could be used for the trust down the road. And that's probably it. You don't need an awful lot. And the second appointment, I always get you to ring parents for the second appointment, and you'll be saying to me, you must be a cranky fella, Alan, because they're half worried if they don't have their tasks finished that way. But it's nice if they can. Of course, you often point out to me, Alan, the reality is now these parents now could have a week from hell. So do you know what I mean? So certainly but we always say, just make your second appointment, keep the progress. And even when I finish the second appointment, I'm saying, book in an appointment with your solicitor, get a date in the diary. That is so important, just from experience. If you have the date in the diary, it gets done. The will gets completed. I get an email or I get a phone call saying, and we have everything done. I'm delighted we can put it all away, this kind of way. So that kind of part is important as well.
Yeah, I've never met anybody who haven't said to me at the end of the whole process, thanks so much. It's a weight off my mind, because people really are grateful to get it all sorted in one place. And it is a worry we all as parents have, especially as our children get older. But it's so much better to put in place while you're younger and the child is younger. Isn't that true, really, Alan?
It is easier. It's so much easier, so much difficult as we all kind of get older to start putting these plans in place. So we're always kind of encouraging our younger parents to get us on. And I often sit down with young parents and you go through the whole process, and we say even the trust life policy. And it's so very little, in the sense that when I've had appointment, we say an hour beforehand with somebody else, and you're talking to them about 200-300 euros a month. You're talking about them, and next thing you're talking to a young couple. I get jealous. They'd be so young, and it'd be like, it'd be like 50 euros a month, and there'd be 100,000 there for the child. And you're like, my God, it's like, it's fabulous. And again, I suppose the other part of it is, as you know, it's kind of privileged to help people in this area. It is so nice, as you said, to get those phone calls. We're kind of soft enough ourselves. It's lovely to get nice feedback. Nobody likes negative feedback, but no, we do, to get that kind of, where people can just rest assured, put it all away. And as you said, then I'm at the end of the phone, you're at the end of the phone then for your aspect. A lot of parents obviously would ring you as well about what happens at the transition here, what happens, what should I do at school, and as I said, I kind of get a phone. Interesting enough, parents wouldn't get onto me an awful lot. They only get onto me when kind of stuff kind of goes wrong, or we say I had a lady there, yes or no rang, and they're looking to buy a council house. So they were just asking me questions about should I do, what's the catches, and again, from my perspective, I was encouraging. I said, look, it'd be a fabulous asset for your child down the road. It would really be a fabulous thing to do. They were going to get X amount discount from the council. So again, parents kind of ring me either when something's going on or when something kind of, financial decision, because the last thing you should be doing is trying to make it on your own. It's always good just to bounce something off somebody else, and I'd often say, look, just because of your child, I wouldn't do that. You might think that's logic, but actually it's actually something that's counterproductive, or vice versa. Like that couple used to just encourage them, and they're running now, delighted, thinking, right, they got the information, they're happy now. If they do now, hopefully it'll all go well with them.
And I have to say, like the second time I had met you for a consultation, I had nothing done. I had none of the tasks done.
Please don't tell everybody you're my worst client.
I remember I probably was the worst. I had no tasks done. And I remember 3 weeks later, I still had no tasks done. And I do remember what you said to me. And I actually put it in place for a lot of things. Now, I wouldn't give you too much, praise. Now we can't be doing that, right? But
no.
Yeah, I remember you said to me, Dolores, Wednesday afternoon, you said you're free from like 1 o'clock until 2:30. Why don't you just start at it this Wednesday from 1 o'clock until 2:30, and at 2:30 put it away. Mm-hmm. And then next week again, just allocate that time to just take another step at it. And, I found it really invaluable, because it took a lot of the frustration off my mind that I must do this now. I have to have it done. I just went, okay. And eventually, I know it may have taken me longer than some parents to get it sorted, but I did.
Yeah.
And that worked anyway for me. So again, that's what we're here to do. We're here to help parents, and they're doing a great job as it is. Yeah. And it's just taking that step a little bit further. The one thing I do like is that there's no extra pay or extra anything for anybody who does need information afterwards.
But why would you? You're trying to help the situation. What are we trying to do? We are genuinely trying to make sure that these trust funds are well funded and all that side of it. It's a 5-minute or 10-minute conversation with that lady yesterday. No, she wanted to ring me up, how much is it for Zoom? And I was like, look, and I rang in between appointments, because we'd be pretty busy here. And in between appointment, it took me 10 minutes to pull out her file, to have her read through it, to give her a call, and to give her some guidance. And as I said, if that's what we can do in this whole area, that's what we'll do in this whole area. It's nice, to be able to do that. So.
It is. So thank you so much, Allan.
We'll talk again. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.